Today we're going to be talking about the percent equation. Both of these can be used to find the part, whole, or percent. They both will get you to the same answer. We don't care which one you do, which one makes sense, but this is just another way to solve percents. It's not like a whole new skill, it's just solving the same skill in a different way. You'll notice here we still have the same part. Just to remind you, this is the is, right? So this is our part. We still have our whole. Which remember is also the of, and we have our percent. But the difference between the percent equation and the percent proportion is here we use the percent as is, normal. But here we have to convert it to its decimal form. If we don't convert it to our decimal form, we're going to get a wrong answer. Now, another way you can think of whole is as the original, and this will come in handy further down the line. So whole is the of or the original, part is the is, and of course our decimal form of our percent. Let's go ahead and open this up, and let's take a look on the inside. Setting up a percent equation, we need to break down the code. There's certain code words. You know that of is related to our whole, and in math, of means times or multiplication. Notice in our equation, our whole is being multiplied by our percent as a decimal. So if that helps you to remember the equation, then that's awesome. So of is the whole, and of in math means times. So whole times percent. Then we have our part, which we know is our is, and is in math also means equals. So part is equals whole times percent. You might see this written sometimes as P equals whole times percent. Just kind of a shorthand for it there. Now, this problem, I know, is the same as this problem, but we're going to solve it in a different way and show you that you still get the same answers. So let's go ahead and get to it. Now we are going to read the question, underline, identify our part, whole, and percent. You want to get in the habit of doing this on every problem. It makes life a lot easier. 45 is, we see that is, we know that's our part, 45. What percent, here we go. They're saying, hey, guess what? We don't know the percent, and we use variables in math to represent numbers we don't know. And in this case, I'll use x just because I like x. It's the most common variable used. 45 is what percent of 66? Here we go. We know that's our whole, 66. Now over here, we always set up our blank proportion first. Here, we're going to set up our blank equation first. P equals whole times percent. Now here's the big deal, is that to remember that that percent is being given to you, or you're putting it in as a decimal. Let's fill in the information we know. We know the part is 45, so we know we have 45 equals our whole is 66, so we're going to replace that with 66 times our percent that we don't know. Now we're going to solve for our missing value, which here is x. We have two sides to every equation. We want to isolate the x. Therefore, we want to get rid of a times 66. Well, what's the opposite of times 66? The opposite of times 66 is divided by 66. Whatever we do to one side, we want to do to the other. Now, these 66s cancel out, leaving you with the x, just like they do in all the cross multiplications. And then 45 divided by 66 gives us a decimal of 0.681818 repeating. Now, I thought our x was supposed to be a percent, but this is the decimal form of the percent. My goodness, Ms. Carbone, how do we turn this into a percentage? Well, we know the magic numbers with percents is 100. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this by 100 to get our percent of 68.18 repeating. Therefore, our answer here is 68.18 repeating percent, which is the same answer we got over here using a different method. Let's continue to explore this down below. As always, we're going to want to identify our part, our whole, our percent. So as we're reading, we're going to figure these out. What number is 40% of 15? Well, we see the of, and we know that that's the whole. We see the percent, and we know that's the percent. Therefore, what we're finding is the part, and the is tells us that. So our part is our unknown x, our whole is 15, and our percent is 40. We are now going to substitute into our equation. So we know we have part equals whole times percent as a decimal. Our part is x, so x will take the place of p. Our whole is 15, so 15 will get substituted in for w or take the place of w. Then times our percent as a decimal. Well, we can't put 40 in there, so how do we turn 40 into a decimal? Simple. Magic numbers with percents, divide it by 100, and we get 0.40 as our decimal form of our percent. You can also put the fraction in there, just 40 over 100, whichever you prefer. So we'll put 0.40. Now, notice our variable is already by itself, so therefore it's going to stay by itself, and we just need to simplify. 15 times 0.40 is 6. So the number and the answer is 6. Next, here we go. It says, what percent of 90 is 36? So we're going to go ahead and put our P, our W, and our percent. Says what percent, so here we can tell that we don't know our percent, and therefore our percent will be represented with X. Of 90, of is the big key word, that's our whole, therefore 90 is our whole, is 36, bing, 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 is our part, 36 is our part. We're going to start by writing the blank form of our equation, P equals W times percent as a decimal. And now we're going to fill in the information we know and solve for what we don't. P is 36, therefore 36 will get substituted in for P or take the place of P, equals. W is 90, so 90 will be substituted in for W or just replaced in W, times our unknown percent of X. Now the X isn't by itself, and it needs to be, so we want to isolate our variable and say, okay, how do we get rid of a times 90? The opposite of times 90 is divided by 90. Whatever we do to one side, we want to do to the other. 90 divided by 90 cancels out, leaving us with the X. 36 over 90 is equal to 0.40. Now, if you said 0.40, you would be dead wrong because that's the percent as the decimal. I want the actual percent. Therefore, we're going to do times 100, or we could just move our decimal place over 2 places to give us that 40. So our final percentage is 40%. That means that 36 is 40% of 90. Hope this helps, and we'll see you tomorrow.